Greetings travellers, in this vid I'd like to show you how we can make this roundhouse with no glitches. A few years ago I discovered this planet with this series of excellent canals and this giant cylindrical monolith in the middle of them, and that's where I'll build the roundhouse. These are the glyphs. If you want to come here and build, feel free. It'd be great to see a bit of a community built around these canals. But first I want to show you the technique I use to make the circle. Sometimes we want to change the angle or direction of an object, but some objects don't flip or rotate when we put them against walls or roofs. But if we take an object and then we toggle to the wire, and we build a wire along a vertical surface, for example, like this wall, then we toggle back to the object, we can see that the object is actually flipped to the direction of the wire. We can see that the locker has changed to a lime green, which is a bit of an idiosyncrasy for this technique. But all we have to do is duplicate the flipped item and then build another one, and we can see it reverts back to its original color. I don't really consider this a glitch because it doesn't require any special kind of keystrokes or button pressing. It's just a case of toggling between the wire and the object. Of course, you can still rotate your objects manually if you wish, but this technique will just give you a bit more of an accurate angle. Okay, so let's get building. So I want to find the center of this monolith, so I've placed a locker, a slightly larger locker at each of the corners, and then I'll just put a wire like this, and where they'll cross over, that'll be roughly the center. I want to have a tapered bottom part of my roundhouse, so I want it a little bit off the ground. So then I'll put a large metal floor panel as close as I can to the center of that wire. I use the metal floor panels because they have a nice pattern on them which allows me to get right in the center. And then I'll just go around and build a 9 floor panel square with the center one in the center, just to give me a bit of workspace. So we can see that center panel is pretty well in the center of those 2 wires crossing, which means it's basically in the center of that monolith. To make the circular floor, which will basically be the foundation of the roundhouse, I'm going to use the cartwheel. But I want to flip it so I can have a flat surface to build my floor on. So I'm going to use the technique we talked about at the beginning of the video. I'm going to go to the underside of this floor, and I'm going to toggle to the wire, and then build a wire, then toggle back to the cartwheel, and then build one. And then I'll duplicate that cartwheel that I've flipped and take it to the top of the floor and make it as big as I can. And then I'll place it right in the center of that center floor tile, as close as I can to the middle. If you carefully zoom down, you will actually pass through the object you're trying to place, which will render it invisible a lot of the time. So if you do need to place it accurately, even though we are free placing, you can actually get pretty accurate with your placement. So to make our circular floor, what we're going to do is use the spokes on the cartwheel to place our floor panels. And we're going to use our little wire trick to place each floor panel at the outer edge of the cartwheel using the spokes as a guide. After we switch from the floor panel to the wire, we place the wire as close as we possibly can to the center of the cartwheel. And then we build the wire and we take it out, lining it up with the spokes to the very, very edge of the cartwheel. It's important that you get it as close as you possibly can. The problem being is that in the center, it's not so bad, but as we build outwards, even a slight difference between each floor panel will create larger and larger gaps. This is where glitch building is superior. You can get very, very accurate. But at least if you're not super fussy, this technique will work just fine. And then you can build out a couple of floor panels and then delete the central ones and then go back to the center and build from the next spoke. It'll take a while, but just be patient and just be as accurate as you can. There's no rush. Of course, you don't have to build a circular room if you don't want to. You can also use this technique to build a nice curved front window, for example, on an otherwise rectangular building. And one more to go, and there we are, and then we have our circular floor that we can start building the rest of our roundhouse on. Now is probably a good time to make a save point, so if you have to reload a restore point later on, it's probably a good idea. You can either make a save point on your ship or you can just build a portable save point. Do that fairly regularly. Yeah, it's always good practice. Now we can go ahead and delete that platform, but I'd probably recommend leaving that central floor panel, which is right in the center, just in case you need to do some other stuff later. It's always a good idea. Just to err on the side of caution, just in case you do need to find that center point again sometime. What I will do though is just get it out of the way, so I'll just build a wall and then put another floor panel below it, just so it's kind of out of the way when we're doing the rest of the building. Alright, so now we can start building the outer window wall. I'm using the large timber triple windows. Of course you can use solid walls if you wish. Just because this location, the view is sort of paramount, so I want to have as much glass as possible. The snap points in No Man's Sky building can be a bit frustrating sometimes. Especially when you start building quite complex structures. There are hundreds of snap points, and it's a bit of a case of moving your build camera around. It's always easier if you're in camera mode to place things, but once you find the right spot, you'll find that if you just move very slightly, it'll find the next spot for you, but it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. I want to create a bit more space between this floor and the floor below, so I'm just putting a row of small timber walls around just to give me that extra bit of clearance. I might just get rid of these lockers too. I don't think I really need them anymore now that I've got those wires in place. On the lower floor, I want to do an inward sloping ring of these timber skylight roof panels, just so the whole building doesn't look quite so heavy. Unfortunately, these skylight roof panels don't snap to those short walls, so I'm going to have to build a ring of regular floor panels around the perimeter so I can attach them. So yeah, you can see on the outer edge of those floor panels, the gaps are a little bit inconsistent now as we build outwards. That's just a result of doing this free placement versus using glitch building. But if we keep the building to about this size, that shouldn't really be a problem. And now we can see we can snap those skylights onto the bottom of those floor panels that we laid before. So now we can go ahead and lay the floor for the lower level. I'm going to leave the center empty just because I want to do something a bit special there a bit later. So after laying the lower level floor, I didn't really like the upper floor color much anymore, so I went back and had a bit of a play with the colors. I ended up choosing to do alternate colors because it creates a bit more interest, I think. I'm not really sure what you would call that pattern. Stucco maybe? Anyway, leave a masonry related comment or suggestion down below. And don't forget to like that smash button. So now I can just go ahead and delete that outer ring of floor panels. I might put a balcony out there one day, but maybe later. So of course we need access to the upper floor from the lower floor, so let's build a staircase. I'm just removing a few of the inner ring floor panels, and then we can mount a staircase there. I'm going to mount them on the side of a triangle just so they're pointing inwards versus outwards. It's just makes it easier to access from below. We'll need to add one just at the bottom there because of that extra short wall we added. Yeah, unfortunately this planet does have a few storms occasionally. But if we try these stairs, okay, we can see that I still need to remove a little bit more of the flooring so I don't hit my head on the way through. Okay, let's try again. Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, so now that we've finished our basic floor plan, we can start putting the roof on. For the glass roof, I'm going to use the stone skylight roof parts. These are fantastic, I think. They have very thin frames, so you get maximum visibility. Plus, when you lattice them together, they create really lovely shadows as well. I could keep going with the second row to create a kind of conical roof, but I think I'll use some glass floor panels to flatten it out a bit, to create a bit more of a kind of cozy space inside. I'll put one at every second junction, I think, just to maximize the glass and minimize the wood. Plus, that's when you start creating interesting geometric patterns as well. A bit of safety railing in case I want to rent this out as a space Airbnb. For some reason, I imagine the Gek would be quite litigious. The bottom level still felt a bit claustrophobic, so I thought I'd increase the number of those transparent floor panels just to give a bit more light down there. And also now it sort of matches the roof pattern as well. I didn't want to go all the way around because I wanted to break up the symmetry a little bit. I really love indoor courtyard gardens, and this seems like the perfect place to put one. So I'm going to use these extruded stone circle windows to frame it. And you can see that it forms this quite interesting gilded pattern. One thing I nearly forgot to do was to build a door so we can get access to the building from the outside. So we're going to use our little wire trick again and build a door at the same angle as these wooden skylights. So using a wire to follow the angle of the skylight, I will build a small wooden floor at the top. And then do the same on the other side. Then from there, I'm just going to play around with different shapes and try to build some kind of door frame. It's not going to be a traditional door, but yeah, I'll just experiment with the parts that I've got and see if I can come up with something interesting. I want to hide my power source, my solar panels and my batteries, and I've decided I'm going to bury them just under the foundation of the building. Don't forget that the solar panels work perfectly well if they're underground or in caves, so you can put them anywhere really. So let's go ahead and plant a big old tree right in the middle. I want to add some more plants later. Maybe in our next video we can spend some time decorating this place. But for now, let's put the tree in so I can finish the roof. A nice little touch of biophilia. So to finish off the roof, I'm just going to use a few more of these stone skylight roof parts And again, when they weave together, they make a really interesting geometric pattern, and they look just as nice from the inside as from outside. So there we are. I hope that was a useful little guide for you to try to build a roundhouse with no glitches. Maybe in the next video, as I mentioned, we can do some decorating inside and get into the micro building side of things. Please leave a like and subscribe if you wish. And as always, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you later.